Happy Wednesday. We are moving through Colossians chapter 1, this sort of magisterial letter that is a big celebration of Jesus. And we're finding a lot there that is just lofty and overwhelming and inspiring. Paul tends in his letters to start, after the introduction. I mean, the first couple chapters tend to be big ideas, and then he moves to more specific applications later on. Some say that it's sort of theory and application. I bristle a little bit at that. I think that there is great practicality and application for good theology. It's shaping us in ways that we don't understand necessarily, but right thinking leads to right actions. And so I sort of, people want more application. I'm always like, a little nervous of that. But we see the move from the more lofty in the beginning in his letters, and we certainly have that here today. I want to focus now on verse 19. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, talking about Jesus, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. So in Philippians chapter 2, Paul famously in that hymn, this first part of Colossians we think is a hymn, but in Philippians 2, 5 through 12, we've got that great Christological hymn, and there talks about Christ's descent, and that Jesus, although he existed in the form of God, did not regard equality with God a thing to be grasped. He empties himself, the kenosis passage. The first thing that is getting celebrated that I want to be sure we don't miss is the incarnation itself. As Protestants, we tend to race perhaps not to the cross, but to the empty tomb. Catholics tend to be a little bit more focused on the crucifixion of Christ. Orthodox, interestingly, so if you're following the church history lectures, you know that in 1054 is the Great Schism, the first a big split in the church, and it's between the Eastern Church, the capital O Orthodox, Byzantine Church, and the Western Church, the Roman Catholic Church, Catholic being universal, so that you had that split that took place. In the Eastern part of the church, there is more of a focus on the incarnation, or at the very least, there is an understanding that the humiliation of Jesus, the sacrifice of Jesus, includes the incarnation. And it goes incarnation through the crucifixion and resurrection. And we've got to think about all of that together. So if you read Orthodox writers, they're tending to make more of that. I'll leave more of that for the Saturday history lectures, but I want to go to not an Orthodox writer, but to a very Protestant one, evangelical, the British preacher, Charles Haddon Spurgeon. Spurgeon writes this, and I read it 20 years ago, and I've come back to it many times because I think it's so powerful. And he's writing this not about the crucifixion of Christ, just about the fact that he became one of us and was mocked. So he asks this, and this is part of his sermon. How could you commit this crime, O ye sons of men? How could you treat such a one with cruel scorn? O you brazen thing called sin, you have indeed, as the prophet said, a whore's forehead, you have a demon's heart, hell burns within you. Why couldn't you spit upon earthly splendors? Why must heaven be the place of your scorn? Or if heaven, why not spit on the angels? Was there no place for your base deed but the well-beloved face? Was there no place for your spit but his face? His face, woe is me, his face. Should such loveliness receive such shame as this, I could wish that man had never been created, or that being created he had been swept into nothingness, rather than to have lived to commit such horror. See how patient Jesus stands, insulted in the lowest case. Sinners have bound the Almighty's hands and spit in their Creator's face. So forget for now the cross. He suffered more than we can comprehend even in the incarnation and in the way he was treated. That was humiliation beyond our comprehension. And remember, he did it for you. So be sobered, be encouraged, have a good day.